Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to tell you about my experience walking the Camino de Santiago. This video is an intermediate B1, B2 English listening task. Please check the video description for the worksheets, and don't forget to subscribe. I moved to Spain almost 4 years ago, and every year I told myself that one day I would finally do the Camino de Santiago. In June 2025, I made that dream come true. I spent months organizing the trip and trying to invite friends to join me, but everyone had different schedules and plans, so in the end, I accepted that I would go alone. I chose the Portuguese coastal way. It usually starts in Porto, but since it was my first Camino, and honestly I wasn't a big hiker, I decided to start a bit closer to the finish line. My journey began in Caminha, a small town near the border between Portugal and Spain. In total, I walked for 8 days and covered about 174 kilometers. I stayed in both private and public hostels for pilgrims, and overall, I had good experiences, even if sometimes it was hard to dry my clothes or a few bunkmates were noisy or snored loudly, but that's part of the fun of shared dorms and budget travel. Some days I walked alone, and some days I spent hours talking with other hikers. I had a few simple chats with strangers, but many times our conversations became quite deep. I spoke with people about things I never expected to discuss on a random hike in the north of Spain. Most days I enjoyed a nice mix of quiet solo time and social time. During the first 2 days, I was still restless and I listened to podcasts to pass the time. But by day 3, I started to relax and really get into the rhythm of walking. A lot of people asked if it was my first Camino, and I was surprised to see so many people who had already done it before repeating it again. But then I started to feel it too, the sense of peace and clarity that everyone was talking about. By day 4, I was already looking at other Camino routes to do in the future. Every day the path looked a little different, and I was fascinated by the beautiful nature of Galicia, the plants, the flowers and animals. Some small towns I passed through had colourful gardens and charming houses. This was my favourite one. The lady waved at us while she watered her beautiful collection. The locals in Galicia were really kind. They often said good morning, waved, or played music as the pilgrims passed. Depending on when you go, you might also see small local festivals. In Redondela, for example, there was a huge celebration in the main square, and the public hostel had the perfect view from above. Along the way, there are many small cafes and bars where you can stop for a drink, a snack, and a stamp for your pilgrim passport. I'm terrible with directions, but the Camino is very well marked, so it's easy to follow. Some sections are quieter, so you need to plan your food and bathroom stops better, but people are usually very helpful and friendly to hikers. Overall, walking the Camino was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It was amazing to see so many solo female travelers and to hear the personal stories of why people decided to do the Camino. These short but meaningful connections made me think about my own relationships and how some friendships change over time. Even though I had planned this trip months before, it happened at a really stressful moment in my life. I needed a break, time to clear my head and find some space. The daily routine of walking, carrying my literal baggage, and pushing through tired muscles was challenging, but also very satisfying. When I finally arrived at the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, I felt completely exhausted but proud. I reached my goal and gave it everything I had. To make it even more special, the day I arrived was the beginning of the Fiestas de San Juan. In the afternoon, I enjoyed the live music. At night, I joined the festivities of jumping over the fire and practiced letting go by writing something down on paper and throwing it into the flames. And that's how I finished my Camino de Santiago. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, the worksheets are in the description below. See you next time.